Hello, this is Greg Allison with Green Greg's coming to you on 29 May 22. Time on deck is 19:48 hours Central Daylight Time. My friends, I am standing behind or in front of the very rockets that may indeed initiate World War III. These rockets might initiate nuclear war, even though they're not nuclear. Greg, how can that happen? Well, I got a story to tell you about these rockets and where they may be going and how this may trigger and cross the red lines stated to us by the Russians. And so guys, this is quite a story. I'll be real quick about it. But guys, I bring you this as part of my eyes wide open and head on a swivel series, because my friends, things are getting really serious now. Things are escalating and you got to know about it. So please, to keep up with my channel and what my latest releases, subscribe, bang the update notification bell, and click all. And please do also consider go to prepwithgregs.com if you want to get long-term food storage that can last you 30 years. Right now you can get a special, it's still active at the moment, $150 off a 3-month supply. Don't know how long it's going to last. Prepwithgregs.com. Check it out. And my friends, so let's get all into this. What we have in front of us here is 2 rocket launchers of the types that have been requested by the Ukrainians to fight the Russians. Himars and the multiple launch rocket system. The big one in front of me here, that's on the truck, that's Himars. The other is the M270 multiple launch rocket system. Now the M270 multiple launch rocket system, as you can see here, is capable of carrying quite a few rockets in it. You can see it can carry up to 12 regular rockets or 2 of these larger rockets called Attackums. Now those Attackums are Attackums 140, MGM 140s. Now I'm going to tell you all about these in a minute. Now the effective range of the regular rockets on these are something like a couple of hundred miles, 210 miles. The Attackums, believe it or not, being a bigger rocket, this thing is set to have sub-munitions to drop bomblets from it. In fact, at one time it was under a program to develop something called brilliant anti-tank weapons called BATs. It was going to carry up to 13 BATs, but that's no longer in development. The BAT program is over, but it does drop bomblets, sub-munitions. This is what this rocket is capable of doing, is taking out a column of tanks. And these tanks, one with one rocket. And this guy here, this is Himars, and both of these rocket systems have been proposed and asked by the Ukrainians to provide to them. The Russians have said this will cross their red line, and here is why. With an Attackum rocket, which can be carried by either of these launchers, you can reach something like 290 miles, no, 210 miles with the Attackum rocket. Now it's 190 miles, excuse me, 190 miles with the Attackum rocket. Some of these other rockets on will get 100 and 210 miles. But there's something called the precision guided missile that can be launched from either of these platforms, which can reach, get this guys, 310 miles. From Ukraine border to Moscow, from the border of Ukraine, the closest point to Moscow, is 274 miles. So you can easily hit Moscow, the outskirts of Moscow, with certain rockets from either one of these. Either one of them can get projectiles into Russia primary. And so the United States and Ukraine have been meeting behind closed doors to get assurances from Ukraine that they would not use these to attack Russia in the territory of Russia. Now I can imagine Ukrainians love nothing better than to rain rockets down on Moscow as rockets are raining down on their own cities. But my friends, Russians have already said provision of these rockets would cross the red lines with them, and the red lines have to do with their threats of nuclear war. Now some of you may think that that's hollow, and some people are saying that's meaningless, but I'm going to have Dr. Peter Vincent Pyne on the channel Thursday, and he's going to talk about why we've got to take this very serious. He is going to underline the gravity of this whole scenario that we're dealing with the Ukrainian-Russian war, and why it is very perilous for us right now. So I'm going to bring you the expert, Dr. Peter Vincent Pyne, to lay that out. Now these are very portable rocket systems. The M270 MLRS, as you can see, is actually, and you can see it's take a driver, but this is a self-propelled vehicle. It is a self-propelled, I don't think it can take a driver. It's a self-propelled vehicle that is armored. Armored self-propelled. This is mounted on a truck. This truck here is called the M1140. And either of these can be air transported. This M1140 looks larger, but it can actually be carried in a C-130 Hercules craft. The C-130 is a propeller type craft that many of you have seen that a lot of paratroopers jump out of. They can fly those things around the world. There's lots of them, and so these are easily transportable to a front, as long as they can get a landing strip close to it, and then drive to wherever they want to go with these guys. So these are depth of penetration type rockets. They're capable of taking out a lot of armor on the other side. These are very serious tactical weapon systems. I would say that they're not really, especially the smaller rockets, those are not large enough to carry a nuke. That one, the Attackums might be, but it's really set up for submarine missions, and Ukraine doesn't have nuclear rockets. So that is not the intention. In fact, the Attackums rocket, the solid fuel grain that launches this guy is a rocket I was wanting to use as a third stage, as a kick booster for a 3-stage balloon launch rocket system that I was planning back in the late 90s. I was under contract negotiations with the provider of this to be able to provide me a rocket motor. Unfortunately, that rocket motor was going to cost me more than the whole rest of my Raccoon system, but it was still made for an very affordable balloon launch rocket system to launch payloads into space. I did a lot of work on that with the business plan I developed back in the late 90s when I was launching hybrid rockets from altitude balloons. It was going to be a 3-stage system for launching 100 pounds to 100 miles orbit. Anyway, guys, to get back to these, we've got to be concerned about those red lines. We've got to be concerned about what these guys can carry. I don't see either one of these having nuclear weapons, especially any of these rockets. An Attackums rocket is not set up to carry a nuclear weapon. It's got a pretty good sized nose cone. I mean, it could carry a tactical nuke in reality, but Ukraine don't have those. And I don't see us providing. But see, this is the kind of thing that Russia said they did not want to see in Ukraine. This is why they did not want Ukraine to be part of NATO. It's because they did not want to see this kind of stuff going into Ukraine. They feared that they would have rockets, they were talking nuclear rockets though, that could reach Moscow. And indeed, these platforms could provide rockets that could reach Moscow. Like I said, we are in tight negotiations with Ukraine, supposedly, so they won't do that. Now, according to John Kirby, who's retired Rear Admiral from the U.S. Navy, who's serving as the spokesman for the Department of Defense right now. You see him on TV a lot talking about the goings-on there. He tells us that no decisions have been made about the deployment of these rockets as to whether either one of these or any of them at all would actually go to Ukraine. But guys, this is in discussion. The decision will be made next week, supposedly. The MLRS was developed jointly between the United States Army, West Germany, because it was back in the Cold War. They started development in 1977. They filled them in 1983. And let's see, the United Kingdom. This was entirely developed by the U.S. Army. Both of these were developed, tested some here. I suppose the Attackums was tested in the White Sands Missile Range. Some of these missiles were probably tested here. The development offices for these platforms were here, right here, at the Missile and Space Departments here in the U.S. Army. So these things have been part of the program. There's only 1,300 MLRSs produced. Only 1,300 of those platforms produced right there. The M270 MLRS. But there were 700,000 missiles produced for it. So they could really kick out a lot of missiles. Those ended production in 2003. This was developed in the 1990s, and as far as I know, is still in production. The Attackums is still in production, as far as I know. All right, my friends, there you are. These are the missile platforms that may indeed initiate World War III, just like we almost got it into it with Russia over the Jupiter missiles that we mounted in Turkey back in before the Cuban Missile Crisis. So the Russians retaliated by mounting missiles in Cuba. A lot of people don't know that we had our Redstone rockets in Turkey first. And those Redstone rockets were developed here. Yeah, well, the Jupiter rockets are actually very similar. There's a redstone rocket right there. Jupiter rockets, excuse me. See my Russia threatens United States again video that I recently put out, and you'll see me standing amongst those rockets. So here we are, guys. Rockets of fame. Hopefully we don't go down in flame. Oh yeah, and by the way, there's your original flight platform right there. A couple of geese walking around here. Birds. Yeah, we got a lot of flight platforms here. So there we are, my friends. Let's hope and pray that we don't see such an ugly day as these missiles might instigate. Let's hope that that doesn't happen. Oh, let me scan out. Yikes. Forgot to scan in on the geese there. My friends, this is serious. Stay tuned for my video on Thursday, which will underline the nature of this threat and why it is serious, from Dr. Peter Vincent Pyne. That'll be out Thursday. I'm going to record it with him in the morning. It'll probably be the evening before I post it. And I won't post this video till tonight. I don't have time to go live. I got to run back right now. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching. Take care and pray that this don't all come down. You might even want to contact your congressman relative to this. Check out freedomrestorationfoundation.org. You know, why are we providing this stuff, guys? We're taking some crazy risk. If we just give Russia time, demographics says they're going to fizzle out. But they may do a lot of damage. A lot of damage can happen between now and then. So we don't need a war. We do not need a war. And we're taking a lot of risk right now. So let's hope that we can avert it. Greg out.